From a flightless simulator at Ferris Air to a momentous meeting in an alley to the complex mind of an architect to every far sector in space and to the brilliance of the central power battery on Oa. This is the podcast that covers the adventures of all of your favorite ring slingers. This is the Emerald Echo with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of Emerald Echo, a Green Lantern podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me is my co-host, the Emerald Enthusiast himself, Donnie. Donnie, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Lantern fans? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy, the podcasting machine, the big nerd in green. It's the Emerald Enthusiast, and we're back to take you back in time to the misadventures of Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Kyle in quite some time. So it's good to go back to him and see what he's up to. Slight spoiler alert, I really liked one of the issues I read. I didn't like the other two, but we'll get into that. And there was one that I didn't read because Comixology hasn't updated some of their stuff. So, but Donnie will fill me in on that issue.
I certainly will.
But now that I've totally confused the viewing and listening audience as to what I'm talking about, which issues will we be talking about regarding Kyle's adventures?
We will be looking at Green Lantern Volume 3, number 59. We will be looking at New Titans, number 119, as well as Damage. That is the first Damage series from the 90s, issues number 8 and 10.
My reading experience of these issues was damaged by reading those two books. But anyway, let's get... I'd love to tell you that there's Kyle news outside of comic books or even within current comic books, but there's not. So there's not much to talk about in that regard. But in the meantime, so we'll get right to it. Let's start with our first issue, Green Lantern number 59.
Yes, Green Lantern number 59. And one of the things that you will notice in this, the cover, the page, the credit page says Ron Mars, the story, Daryl Banks, Romeo Tangall doing the inks, Daryl Banks doing the pencils, that is, Steve Matson colors, Albert de Guzman is the letterer, Eddie Berganza is Elf, and Kevin Dooley is Santa. This is a Christmas-themed issue called Green Christmas.
Yeah, and
I love this issue. By the way, little tidbit from my personal history, I was actually reading this on the day that I first met Ron Mars.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great little tidbit. And, look, it's the second last week of, near the end of January as of this recording. But I'll tell you, reading a Christmas issue felt good because I was still in the mood. So,
yeah.
Like, all right, we're back at Christmas time. So
good point. Yeah. Well, and we did Hawkeye on the Marvel podcast right after Christmas. So, that's right, yeah. There's those lingering holiday feelings that sometimes need to be satiated. So
especially with Christmas because I like Christmas is my favorite holiday.
See, we're right on the same page.
And Halloween I could do without. Here's my thing with Halloween. I celebrate costume people all the time, every Wednesday. I don't need one extra day where you add monsters and zombies, which I could care less for, to the mix. So that's why I'm not too big on Halloween. I can't stand horror movies, and that's why I really don't like Halloween all that much, with the exception of the Addams Family. I dig them, and Ghostbusters, which is Halloween periphery, if you will.
Yes.
But yeah, generally Halloween is not my deal. I like Thanksgiving because, basically mashed potatoes. But with a particular person's use of turkey on Vero recently, I'm starting to hate Thanksgiving because of a certain fan base. But Christmas, nobody can ruin Christmas for me, Donnie. How about that?
All right.
I don't care what somebody posts on Vero for Christmas or over analysis of a picture. Nobody's ruining Christmas. And you know why nobody's ruining Christmas? Because Batgirl said at Christmas time, the upcoming movie, and that will always be, good for me.
Okay.
But that's I've went off on a tangent. Green Lantern 59. Continue.
Okay. So, well, before we get to that, so you say that, Halloween is not your favorite holiday.
Right.
So, would you say every Halloween for you is a long Halloween?
Well, it is, and I often read the book. Actually, it's come to think of it.
Joke number one.
Yeah, it's a long Halloween, but when I'm reading a Batman book, it's more palatable. How about that?
So, Halloween for me has always been kind of hit or miss. As a kid, I loved it.
Yeah, but now I'm like 38.
Well, see, that's the thing. Before I got married, there was nothing to do on Halloween. Then I got married. Then I had kids.
Yeah.
And then there was trick-or-treating again. But now my kids have outgrown that, sort of. So.
Yeah, and in my neighborhood, like no kids come around. So it's like, what the hell do I care? Like it's another day. It's like another,
Yeah. Well, we'll have to find something special next Halloween to do a special podcast to get you excited.
What we need to do? We need to have Margot Robbie dressed as Harley Quinn come knock on my door and I'll give her some candy. And then I'll be happy about Halloween again.
I'm sure you would be.
And there we go. There's the solution. So Warner Brothers, make it happen. Or I'll boycott you like some other crazy people on the internet. Anyway.
That's right, brother. If you're going to dream big.
Damn right. I go big. I go bigger, go home. And oftentimes I'm going home.
Okay, back to Green Lantern Volume 3, number 59. We took a wrong turn at Albuquerque there. Green Lantern number 59 opens with Impulse getting a 2-point takedown on Kyle. Kyle gets the 2 for the construct reversal. Arsenal is upset because Kyle is late for the training session. Kyle gets reprimanded while Bart makes faces at him behind his back. Kyle isn't fond of monitor duty at Titans headquarters on Christmas Eve. And this first opening scene ends with Arsenal telling Kyle that his name is actually Roy. So despite the fact that Arsenal opens up and he's a little prickly with Kyle here, you see that Kyle is starting to make some genuine friends, at least within the superhero community, and he's gaining some acceptance as Green Lantern. So what were your initial thoughts of the first part of this book?
It was really, first of all, I love the way Bart is written because he feels like a genuine young teenager.
Right.
That's not often the case in some superhero comics or on some superhero TV programming or in the superhero space. So I really like that Bart feels like a teenager. It's really interesting seeing Kyle with it's the new Teen Titans at this point, right?
Yes.
But they still call themselves Teen Titans?
Right, and the title is New Titans at this point.
Okay, so they've dropped the teen?
At least I can't remember whether they are calling themselves Teen Titans, but I know the title is New Titans. Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, there's ain't no way Roy is a teenager anymore, and neither is Kyle. So and neither is Donna. So calling yourself Teen Titans at this point would literally be like the 90210 of the comic book world, where Jason Priestley was playing a teenager and he was 30 years old. So it would have been ridiculous. But I do like watching Kyle kind of work his way into the group and being part of the group. And of course, him not being on time is a character trait that continues.
Sure.
I was kind of surprised at how much of a hard time Roy gave him. Just because in my head I'm reading and I'm thinking, dude, you're Green Arrow's sidekick. Like, who do you think you are? Like, in the grand scheme of DC characters, you're what, the second or third guy that runs around with a bow and arrow?
Mm-hmm.
Like, sit down.
Yeah. Well,
he's got a Green Lantern ring. Sit yourself down and stop trying to pretend you're Batman. You're nowhere near that. Like Green Arrow is, and I like Green Arrow, but let's be honest, he's the bargain basement Batman, and so you're the poor man's Robin. So sit down and take stock of where you rank in the DC universe. Your arrow and bow is trumped by the Green Lantern ring. So if he's late, he's late. That was my take on it.
Well, and I will say, you'll see within this comic too, as well as the New Titans comic, that Roy is having some confidence issues.
Right.
So he worries about his own decision making.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it felt like he's trying to be more important than he actually is. Yeah, maybe that's part of his confidence.
Sure, he's trying to put on a little bit of bluster to show that he's in charge.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like the Brooklyn Brawler trying to lead the WWE locker room in the '90s. Like, who the hell? Sit down.
Well, and let me just say though here before we get on to more of the narrative, I think it's important. You wonder why Kyle was so immediately put into crossovers and group books like, things like Damage and New Titans. Yeah. There weren't a lot of characters inhabiting Kyle's world when the Green Lantern Corps was taken out and how Jordan's a villain. So you need people. And we talked about that with Alexandra DeWitt. Why do you kill Alexandra DeWitt right away? Well, because who else were you going to kill? At this point, we need Kyle to have some friends and some other characters for Kyle to play off of that aren't temporary characters.
Right. Yeah. So, it makes a lot of sense, for sure. Yeah.
So, again, we're at Titan headquarters now. Kyle is there for monitor duty overnight. This is Christmas Eve. Damage, Terra, and Impulse all show up in civilian clothes. I really love the word balloon here because Kyle is like, oh, hey, Damage. Hey, Terra. Impulse. And it's really a frosty word balloon. And it lets you know everything you need to know about, Kyle and Bart initially. So
yeah, they get on each other's nerves for sure. Well, at least
go
ahead. Bart gets on Kyle's nerves.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they introduce themselves by their real names, Terra, Grant, and Bart. And so we're starting to see them trust Kyle a little bit. And he reciprocates and says, by the way, my name's Kyle. It's not just Green Lantern. So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was good. It was like, you could tell how fresh this group is in terms of their familiarity with each other, that they're just now exchanging like real names.
Mm-hmm. So the scene cuts to the monitor room and Donna Troy is there. So again, this is another kind of building block to see that Kyle is gaining acceptance here. She's very happy to see Kyle. And I like the way that Ron Mars is kind of building the tension here, having her here, as well as Daryl Banks' the body positioning. Like Kyle puts his hands behind his back like a little kid. And you can see the body positioning like he's a little unsure around her because he's attracted to her.
Of course, yeah. And who wouldn't be? Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll get to that later on. So Donna is taking an armload of packages to her son, Robert. I really love this scene here. She drops one of them and Kyle makes an elf construct to catch it. And I just love, I love the whimsy here. And again, that's why I keep coming back to Kyle so often. He does those little things that really shows you how well he's becoming acquainted with his ring.
Right.
So everybody's gone at this point from Titans headquarters except for Kyle. The hours go by, and I really like the art here. There's not a lot in the way of dialogue, but you see the way it's drawn by Daryl Banks. Again, of course, my personal favorite artist.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So Kyle plays paddleball. He plays cards with like a cowboy construct that he made. He draws a collage, interestingly enough, and the collage consists of Donna in like a very cartoonish version of Donna, Gleek, the 9 Inch Nails logo, and Parallax being shot Alfred E. Newman style by an Oliver Queen arrow. So I thought that was really creative. And I've wondered, I wonder if Daryl ever did that himself, and then it's just I'm going to throw that in a book at some point. So.
I like how they highlight usually almost every issue we've read has highlighted the fact that Kyle's career as an artist, and I dig that.
Likewise,
because that's such a rare, in terms of superhero secret identities, that is a very rare profession.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that it's highlighted, but also it reminds you that these characters are more than just going out at night, and beating up bad guys. Like, they have another side to their life. So that's always a good reminder, when you see stuff like that. So I really like that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, things are about to take a dark turn because Kyle falls asleep and his ring manifests Alexandra DeWitt. And Kyle isn't happy about that because he wakes up and here is kind of a construct / illusion of Alexandra.
Right.
And again, he's still traumatized. He's still in mourning, very much so, for Alexandra. And to wake up to that was very shocking to him.
And it makes sense that he would be like I'm glad that it's not, 2 issues later and hey, I'm over her. Let's move on and get it. I really dig that this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But also, aside from the part the fact that she's dead, I mean, that I can understand why he'd be upset that the ring would conjure that,
right,
construct up. But he was obviously thinking about her for the ring to conjure it up.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me think that, can you imagine if I had a Green Lantern ring and I was sleeping? My God, it'd be a construct of all my multiverse wives. It'd be ridiculous.
There'd be no room for anything else.
I'd wake up and think of, I was Hugh Hefner. It'd be great. Come on, somebody give me a ring. Where's my green? I know I can get one at the store, but those don't do anything. Give me one that conjures up that stuff.
Yeah. Well, but just remember, though, all the information is transmissible to the Guardians. Not with Kyle's ring, but with a standard Green Lantern ring. So.
That's why I want Kyle's ring. This way they can't know what I'm thinking about. What those little blue perverts will be doing with my thoughts.
I could just see Lantern of Sector 2814. Stop misusing your power banner. Oh, anyway, so as we said, Kyle is very traumatized by this. He isn't happy, so he flies off to kind of enjoy the night air again. For people who may be listening, the East Coast here, very cold on Christmas Eve. Kyle kind of flies out and is enjoying that, and he stops Santa Claus, not the actual Santa Claus, a Santa, someone dressed up as Santa Claus from being robbed. And I like this scene too because Kyle stops the robbery with a reindeer construct.
Yeah.
And he ties up the robbers with a bow and a little card like you would get on a Christmas present. So again, I just love the whimsy here. That's why I like this issue so much.
And the creativity. Again, I love it. And it's Daryl Banks' creativity to draw those things. But it's really cool that, an actual artist is interpreting what an artist would think up as a construct.
Right.
That adds like a what's the word? Like a meta aspect to the whole Kyle situation because an artist is being drawn by an artist, and
certainly a layer of reality there.
Right. Yeah.
That you can believe, what Kyle experiences because there's an artist interpreting Kyle's life here.
So. Yeah. It's great. Yeah.
So, important little scene here. People often ask me, do the Green Lanterns have to say their oath to recharge their rings? Usually, you always see the recharging process accompanying with the oath, but it doesn't necessarily have to. And here we see with Kyle's ring in particular, he doesn't know how to say the oath yet. He has no reason to say the oath. He just sticks his ring into the battery and charges it. He even makes a point that he doesn't exactly know when it's full.
Yeah.
So, kind of depends on the artist and the era. And, of course, I love the Green Lantern Oath, but it's not necessarily not a necessity, shall we say. So,
you really see that he's a novice at this.
He's still learning, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kyle flies to Rockefeller Center. That's where the giant Christmas tree is. And he runs...
I'm surprised he didn't run into Hawkeye. What a crossover that would have been, yeah.
That would have been. Isn't it cool how those two things, the symmetry for us here as podcasters? I like it.
Yeah, it just so happens that we're reading and watching it roughly the same, in the same space of time.
Yeah. So Kyle runs into one of my favorite DC villains, is not talked about enough, Dr. Polaris. I really love this character.
Right.
Now, he's had past run-ins with Hal Jordan. His origin was Green Lantern Volume 2, number 21. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't know Kyle, but he recognizes the name Green Lantern And so he and Kyle immediately start to throw down.
Poor Kyle. Everybody that comes in contact with him, I knew a Green Lantern and I hated him. And let me
exactly.
So by proxy, I'm going to beat the crap out of you because you're the only one.
Yeah. Well, he sucks, so you must suck too. So here, poor Kyle. Yeah. So, but I like though the way that Ron Mars wrote this scene, because Kyle's trying to protect the civilians while Dr. Polaris is using anything he can use that he can use his magnetic powers on to like just kind of toss them around. So Kyle has to try to protect the civilians while Dr. Polaris is attacking him. So it's, the good guy who's trying to preserve life against the guy who really doesn't, give a crud what he's doing. He's going to utilize any dirty tactic to try to achieve victory.
Right. Yeah. No, he's an interesting villain from the little bit that I've been exposed to him. He's definitely an interesting villain. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's some similarities with the Green Goblin, because, when he's Neil Emerson, he doesn't think of himself as Dr. Polaris, but when that, and he was one who was affected by Underworld Unleashed. He can, he can undergo that, psychological metamorphosis and become Dr. Polaris. And
so far I gotta say I like Dr. Polaris better than that. What was that guy? I remember when we reviewed the Teen Titans, the other crossover with Green Lantern and Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. What the hell was his name? The guy with the telekinesis power. They could.
Oh yeah, I'm forgetting the name
Simon?
right now. Yeah,
Simon.
Yeah, Simon. PSIMON.
I don't like him. I like Dr. Polaris better.
Well, Dr. Polaris is again a kind of a time-tested villain. He just doesn't get utilized that much, and a lot of people say, "Oh, well, he's just a ripoff of Magneto." Well, that's not the case. They have completely different personalities.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the way this ends is Kyle creates a giant construct to catch the giant Christmas tree that Dr. Polaris has knocked over, simultaneously catching Dr. Polaris. And he uses this like giant construct, and I wish I knew the exact name. It's some kind of like giant electric tuning fork that he uses to shock Dr. Polaris with that before he's able to knock him out of the sky and catch him.
Yeah.
So
no, it was like I said, it's like Kyle has the unique ability to kill two birds with one stone in that kind of a rescue, right? It's like save the tree, catch the bad guy.
Right.
It's like that Heroes tagline. Remember, save the cheerleader, save the world. This is save the tree, catch the villain. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I will say, Heroes had something going. Again, it had nothing to do with Green Lantern, but it's in the realm. Heroes had Hayden Panettiere, which was the cheerleader that they were all about saving. And let me tell you something about Hayden Panettiere, Donnie.
Okay.
This will come as no surprise to anybody that knows me or that's aware of the Multiverse Wives list. But Hayden Panettiere is most certainly on the list.
Okay. So after he's able
you didn't think I was going to get a chance to do it during a comic podcast, did you? I found the way.
Well, if the next episode of Emerald Echo, where we talk about John Stewart's recent adventure, Green Lantern number 10, there's a character in there that I really like. So I wouldn't want to battle John for her, but if there's, a version of Donnie out there.
You want me to pass my pen to you for that episode? This is like the magical pen. This is like what's that guy's name on Stargirl? The purple guy.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
I got a better pen. This one's better. How about that? Whatever your name is, who wields that pen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But make sure to tune in for the next episode of the Emerald Echo, where we talk about Green Lantern number 10. And now back to this episode of Emerald Echo, right here on Multiverse Musings, the Vidcast.
That's your first plug of the day, which is shocking for you. Usually there's about 4 or 5 by now. Anyway.
Right. So, all right. So Kyle soaks up adulation from the onlookers. He gets a kiss from a woman, and he's starting to like New York now because, New York's starting to like him.
Right.
So Kyle goes back to Titan headquarters, and Donna shows back up, and she says, well, don't get yourself excited. And I'm like, that's not how that works.
with me, I would have been too late. Sorry.
But when you're attracted to somebody who he obviously is attracted to Donna, the minute she walks in, you know he's excited.
She walks into a room and I'd be like, "Don't get excited."
Yeah,
that's the complete opposite of what's happening here. There's no other way around it, lady.
So she gives Kyle a present, which is mistletoe. And for anyone who may not know, mistletoe, it's tradition to give someone mistletoe, or when you're standing under mistletoe, you kiss the person.
Right.
And so this issue ends with the Smoochieface.
Now, Donnie, did you know a couple things? Did you know that a mistletoe is deadly if you eat it?
And a kiss is even deadlier when you mean it.
Indeed. No, so that's the Batman Returns reference. By the way, that's my favorite Christmas movie.
Good. Yeah, that's a good choice.
Just so everybody knows.
I have numerous favorite Christmas movies.
Right, but that's one up there. That's every year, Christmas Eve at midnight, I watch Batman Returns. That's a ritual of mine. The other thing is, I just thinking as that whole scene was playing out where she walks in and gives her the mistletoe, right? I was thinking to myself, what I wouldn't give to have Connor Leslie, who plays Donna Troy on Titans, walk into a room and present me with a mistletoe on Christmas. I was like, damn you, Kyle. I wish that was me. And I would like to see that scene play out on Titans. So Warner Brothers, DC, put Kyle on Titans.
Hey, I'm down with that.
And by the way, in case I haven't mentioned this before, I got to go check the list on Twitter to see if I actually put her on yet. But just in case anybody's wondering, Connor Leslie from Titans is most certainly on the list. No, but I like the way this relationship is developing. It's very authentic. It feels very realistic. You know, there's the added, not an issue, but it's, you know, the circumstance of her having an ex and a child. And so that's going to be a different dynamic for Kyle. But I like the way this is playing out so far. It really feels like how a legitimate, real relationship would play out. So,
and the reason why we're bringing you 3 issues here on this episode that aren't Green Lantern is there are some important things that happen in these issues, not necessarily for Kyle, although some of them are, but something like for Donna happens in Titans number 119. That's certainly going to affect her relationship with Kyle. Okay. So, yeah. So we're trying to be completionists here and give you every appearance by Kyle in this original Volume 3 run.
Right.
Yeah. So, by the way, just in case you can't, because I have an autographed copy, couple autographed copies of that issue. I love it. It's perfect. You know, it's Mars and Banks together.
Are we rating this one already? Are we going issue by issue?
Well, do you want to do it that way? Because that.
Yeah. Okay, we could. Yeah.
I'm sorry. No disrespect to anyone else writing these issues or drawing. Again, Mars and Banks for me, that's my dynamic duo. Nothing's going to quite be on their level.
Batman and Robin.
But yeah, when it comes to Kyle, anyway,
it's like Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Like you put those when Hush came out. That was, that got me back at reading that got me back at the comics. So Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, those two are like on my Mount Rushmore of modern comic book people. But no, my rating for Green Lantern 59 is 5 for story, 5 for art, perfect 10. That's the last perfect 10 I'm giving out on this particular episode.
Likewise, but yeah, I think I said it on one of these podcasts. It's going to be a long time, I think, before I see or before I would rate one of these as like less than perfect, because for me, this is a life-changing run. So
right, yeah.
Okay, so we go to New Titans number 119, part of a story called Dark Titans. Now, we're not going to highlight everything here that's going on because not all of it has to do with Kyle. This is a Green Lantern podcast.
Well, whatever you highlight is going to be new to me because I said I went on Comixology. It wasn't there. So,
all right. Well, here we go.
You see, I want to pay you. I can't if you don't let me. Like, hello, let me give you money.
Yeah. All right. Well, strap in here, sir. Here we go. Part of a story called Dark Titans. Kyle flies past the Statue of Liberty. Once again, remarks that he's enjoying the New York winter. So in the snow, a car loses control and it's careening towards a group of kids who are playing in the street. Kyle creates a ramp that saves the kids, and it actually has the car do a loop-de-loop. One of those kind of, again, another super creative construct, even though not drawn by Gerald Banks, still very much in keeping with Kyle's personality.
Right.
Another thing we see here is that he's still thinking about Alex. When he does something heroic, he's like, I wish Alex could have seen it.
I don't blame him. I mean, it's totally understandable.
Yeah. He was wishing she was still around, and also marveling how strange it is. People are starting to recognize him as Green Lantern and just calling him GL. And he's like, wow, people know me, and they know me as GL. So,
yeah.
Now, in this issue, interestingly enough, Donna is in a custody hearing with her ex-husband. The ex-husband was mentioned, of course, in Green Lantern number 59. And she loses her composure during this and breaks a table with her super strength. And because of that, the judge bars her from seeing her son. So this is a pretty huge development for her. Yeah. Because, again, she loses her composure. So
I get that, but still, that's a little extreme by the judge, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, part of the judge's reticence was the fact that she's a superhero, a well-known superhero, worrying that the child was going to be exposed to, threats from, villains and superpowered fights.
Yeah, so, I guess that makes sense on the same.
And so then when Donna loses her composure, that's the last thing she wanted to do.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. But it was really hard to see. Obviously, a mother who loves her child barred from seeing her child at this point. It was a hard scene to watch. So
for sure.
Speaking of blow-ups, Damage and Arsenal have a big blow-up. And after all this, again, Arsenal very much questioning himself as a leader. He heads to Kyle's apartment for a night away to try to clear his head and just spend some time with Kyle and have some buddy time. Now, I'm sure you will be shocked, Adam, when he goes to Kyle's apartment. Kyle has a nude model in his apartment. And he's drawing this woman.
Kyle, man, he's living the life.
And Roy is actually very embarrassed here because he walks into, Kyle, and the woman's name is Kelly. I don't think she's ever mentioned again. Just a friend of Kyle's, and she doesn't act embarrassed. Kyle doesn't act embarrassed, but Roy is very embarrassed.
So he's drawing her.
Yeah,
that's what's happening, right?
Yes, he's drawing her. She actually has a product in. I forget exactly what the product was. She has a product in her hand. She's blocking her chest area.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, of course. It's not an X-rated comic. You don't need to worry about that. So, however, what's funny here is that Kyle says he's on a deadline at this point. Again, he has a job, and he has to work all night and to try to meet this deadline with his drawing. So she actually asks Roy to walk her home because she lives in a bad neighborhood.
Sure.
And while they are walking home, she asks Roy a little bit about her life, and then they agree to go on a date.
Oh. So Roy is profiting from Kyle's hard work. I see how that works.
Yeah, he's very nice to her. I have to say, and I want to see if I can get this on camera so you can see it. She tells him, hold on, let me pull this up here. Make sure. She tells him, by the way, you can look next time. I won't be embarrassed because by the way, for people who, and I want to go on a rant here just a minute. People for like our friend Brooke, who are cosplayers and ladies who put their pictures online, that's not an invitation for you to say whatever you want. Roy acts like a gentleman the whole time.
Right.
And then she says, by the way, you can look next time. I won't be embarrassed. And this is,
the black screen, Donnie.
Black screen. This is Roy's face when she tells him that. He's very happy
Of course, he should
that
be.
he just scored a date with a beautiful woman. Guess what?
Right.
Why? Because he was a gentleman. So,
yeah, he wasn't an idiot. But Donnie, we've documented the amount of idiots on the internet. It's a well-known.
Yeah.
It's a well-known fact, especially on Twitter. It breeds idiots.
Yes. So
it's a breeding ground for idiots,
Right. So it ends with Kelly and Roy agreeing to go on a date. We don't see Kyle again in this issue. It does end with, and this is something that will come into play later on, Mirage, who is pregnant, by the way, being tracked down by the children of Trigon. which includes at this point an evil version of Raven. And that personality has asserted itself, and Mirage is captured at the end of this issue. So
okay, all right,
yeah, we will
see
more.
An entertaining issue, though.
We will see more of what's going on there in New Titans number 120.
Okay,
so.
Sounds like a cool story, though.
It is.
I missed it. It's a shame I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
DC, I'm very disgruntled that the issue that I was looking forward to read, I couldn't, but the two that you made available were the ones that we're going to talk about next.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the collected editions, so I'll see if I can find that, and you can purchase that on Comixology.
Yeah, okay. See, I didn't know that. If I knew that.
So, Damage number 8. So, fed up with Arsenal, Damage decides to leave the New Titans for a bit to research his family. Now, it's important to note here, he has another Green Lantern connection. He's the nephew of Dr. Polaris. Grant Emerson is Neil Emerson's uncle.
Right.
Or did I get that wrong? No. Grant Emerson is... No, Neil's Grant's uncle. So
right, yeah, you got that.
Right, okay.
You got that term.
Neil Emerson is Dr. Polaris.
Right.
So that's the GL connection beyond just him being in Kyle being in the New Titans book.
Sure.
So Damage's first lead is the Symbolics Corporation and its owners, the Warman family. So in this issue, we see him get attacked by Steppenwolf. He defeats him with the aid of Wildheart and a Mother Box. And since the Mother Box reacts to both of them, she suspects Wildheart, that they may both be from New Genesis. Now, Kyle is not in this book very much at all. He's only in a couple panels.
Yeah.
So why do we cover it? We want to, make sure that we're covering everything completely. So if somebody reads this and wonders, where is it? This is where it is. Okay. This is during that time that Kyle is gaining acceptance with the Teen Titans.
Right.
So another thing I want to point out here, and I forgot to tell you about this. That's okay. It's a tidbit. Issue number 9. Kyle is not in issue number 9. However, Dr. Polaris escapes Slabside Penitentiary, which we saw him sent to the slab at the end of issue number 59. That's and right. He lays the smackdown on Damage.
Okay.
Big time.
So I like that issue because the Damage didn't impress me.
Yeah. So Damage number 10. Kyle is in the very beginning of this, and he's obviously displeased that Dr. Polaris has freed himself.
Yeah.
And he says that. However, Kyle is not in very much of this episode at all. What we see is that Impulse reveals that he's been following Damage around for a few days, secretly helping him, but he's forgot to alert the Titans. So Arsenal's not happy about that. Damage is now on his own in Atlanta, trying to save a woman named Mara Darrow from a villain named Splatter. There's some gruesome stuff in this. Arsenal uses his powers to defeat Splatter, but both Mara and another one of his friends, Damage. What did I say? Damage uses his powers. It's his book. He uses his powers to overcome Splatter. And Splatter's an apt name because a couple of the deaths here, a couple of his kills are very gruesome. So
right.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, like you said, Green Lantern wasn't in it all that much, and in the space of those two issues, the remainder of it, where I had a chance to get exposure to the Damage character, I really felt zero connection or interest in this character. Like it didn't grab me at all. So it was honestly two of the most boring comic reading experiences I've ever had. Like it was just, I'm like, I was almost to the point where I was like, I'm gonna skip for Kyle, and if he's not here, I'm just gonna stop here because it was. I don't know how long this series lasted.
20 issues, I believe.
But I can see why it didn't last all that long.
And again, you'll see here that back in the mid 90s, Kyle was being inserted in a lot of these things to try to. Kyle was incredibly popular, much more so than than Daryl and Ron Mars originally perceived he would be.
Right, and I get it.
And they were using Kyle in a lot of these places to try to prop these books up.
If you're gonna do that, you at least put him more in the issue more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you're gonna try and use his popularity, right? Then use it effectively.
Yes, and I get it. It's Damage's book. I mean, that's he's the character on the title there. Right. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen obviously more Kyle. I mean, you're never going to hear me say I want to see less Kyle, but
right, yeah.
So
yeah, so the Damage book isn't for me. Rating it just to be nice and because it had some decent art, I'll give it a 2, and purely for the fact that the art was nice to look at for the most part. But the story did absolutely nothing for me. So on the whole, it'd be a 2 out of 10 because the story was a 0, and the art, just because I want to be nice, the art was decent to look at. So it was a 2.
I liked some of the connection here that what Damage is trying to do. I also like Splatter as a villain. So between the 2 issues, I'm going to give the writing a 3.5. Also the art, I'm going to give it a 3.5. Not perfect, but I did like it.
Plus, I'm not a fan of the New Gods characters outside of Darkseid, so it's like Steppenwolf. Look, I'm all Steppenwolf played out now. I've seen 6 hours of him in live action. I didn't much care for that. I don't care for his comic. The only time I enjoyed Steppenwolf was in the Earth 2 comics.
Okay.
During the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what I'm finding out is I'm really not that much of a New Gods kind of guy outside of Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my. And I know Jack Kirby is very important to the comic industry and his contribution and all that stuff, but those characters just don't do anything for me.
Well, I've been trying to reacquaint myself with the New Gods. A lot of what I read was like 30 years ago.
Right.
So because they're playing into the current Green Lantern series.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, like I said, a really good Green Lantern issue, and so I was happy about that.
I like the Green Lantern issue. Obviously, I love the Green Lantern issue. Yeah. I thought the New Titans issue was very solid. The 2 Damage issues, just a little bit of Kyle, but just adding a little bit of Green Lantern flavor to what's going on. So
yeah, right, yeah. So there we are. We're back in a bit of a groove with Kyle, and we'll, as we always do, continue going through his adventures. Mm-hmm. And while we're doing that, hopefully DC will announce him in a book again.
Right.
At some point while we're going through these back issues would be nice. Anytime now, DC. Go ahead.
Anytime, DC.
We're waiting. But yeah, we'll be back with more Kyle. And until then, if you want to talk Kyle with us on social media, you can. So Donnie, where do they find you on the socials?
You can find me on Twitter as the Emerald Enthusiast. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk comics. Let's talk Green Lantern.
You can find me at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. The podcast Vidcast Network has its own Twitter page at MMNPDC. There's a Facebook group which is listed somewhere in the description below. Click that. I will add you, and we can continue the conversation there if you like. But until next time, remember that Green Lantern, specifically Kyle Rayner, is forever. From the first kiss under the mistletoe with Donna Troy to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.